There was a time when survival depended not on convenience, but on patience and quiet knowledge passed down through generations. Kitchens were modest, ingredients were limited, and nothing was wasted without reason. During the hardest decades of the 20th century, our grandparents learned how to turn scarcity into sustenance and ordinary meals into lifelines. These dishes were not chosen for taste alone. They were built for endurance, cooked slowly, shared gratefully, and remembered long after the plates were cleared. Today, we return to those humble kitchens and rediscover 15 frugal meals our grandparents survived on. 1. Homemade macaroni before boxed dinners existed. Macaroni and cheese was prepared carefully by hand. Butter or lard was melted gently, flour was stirred in slowly, and milk was added little by little until a thick sauce formed. Pasta was folded into the mixture and baked until the top turned golden. This meal was filling, comforting, and affordable, often feeding an entire family at a time when meat was scarce and money even scarcer. 2. Potato soup. Potatoes were the backbone of survival cooking. Cheap, filling, and easy to store, they provided energy when few other options were available. Simmered with onions and water, and sometimes milk if it could be afforded, potato soup offered warmth and nourishment. It was a simple meal, but one that brought comfort during long, uncertain days. 3. Peel soup. In times of hardship, even scraps mattered. Potato peels were scrubbed clean and simmered with onions and salt. Thickened with a bit of flour, this soup extracted nutrition from what would otherwise be discarded. It was not rich, but it was sustaining, and it reflected a deep respect for food and resources. 4. Water pie. When eggs, milk, and cream were unavailable, water pie provided a small sense of normalcy. Made from water, sugar, flour, and a bit of fat, it baked into a custard-like filling. This dessert was never about indulgence. It was about dignity, offering families a moment of sweetness during desperate times. 5. Rice beans. Rice and beans were a dependable pairing that fed millions of families. Dried beans were soaked overnight and simmered all day, often flavored with a leftover bone if one was available. Served over rice, this meal was filling, nutritious, and economical, capable of feeding large families with very little cost. 6. Perpetual soup. A single pot of soup often stayed on the stove for days. Vegetable scraps, bones, and leftover broth were added gradually, allowing the soup to evolve over time. This never-ending soup ensured that no food was wasted and that nourishment was always available, even on days when fresh ingredients were scarce. 7. Biscuits. Gravy. Meat drippings were carefully saved and turned into gravy using flour and milk or water. Poured over soft homemade biscuits, this dish created the feeling of abundance when there was very little. Even without meat, pepper and texture gave the illusion of richness, filling both stomachs and spirits. 8. Braised cabbage. Cabbage was sturdy, affordable, and widely available. Slowly simmered with a small amount of sausage or fat, it absorbed flavor and stretched across multiple meals. One pot could feed a family for several days, making it a reliable solution during hard times. 9. Lentil soup. Lentils were valued for their affordability and nutrition. They required no soaking and cooked quickly, saving both time and fuel. Simmered with water and a few vegetables, lentil soup delivered protein and energy, proving that even the simplest ingredients could sustain a family. 10. Sloppy Joe's. Ground meat was stretched by adding breadcrumbs or oats, allowing a small amount to feed many. Simmered in a lightly seasoned sauce and served on bread, Sloppy Joe's provided a filling and satisfying meal. It was practical, economical, and deeply comforting. 11. Egg salad. When meat was too expensive, eggs became the primary source of protein. Mashed with simple seasonings and spread on bread, egg salad sandwiches were easy to prepare and transport. They appeared in lunch pails and dinner tables alike, offering nourishment and familiarity. 12. Cornbread. Beans. Pinto beans simmered slowly on the stove while cornbread baked nearby. Cornbread was used to soak up every drop of bean broth, ensuring nothing went to waste. Together, they formed a complete meal, rich in energy and tradition. 13. Fried rice. Leftover rice was never discarded. Fried the next day with eggs, vegetables, or small bits of meat, it became a new meal entirely. This practice reflected a deep understanding of resourcefulness, turning leftovers into opportunity. 14. Tuna casserole canned tuna provided affordable protein without the need for refrigeration. Mixed with noodles and soup, then baked until bubbling, tuna casserole became a staple of survival cooking. It was warm, filling, and dependable, feeding families with ease. 15. Peanut butter. Peanut butter required no refrigeration and offered protein and fat at low cost. Spread on bread with jelly, it fed countless children during difficult years. Simple and familiar, it provided nourishment and comfort when little else was available. Final thoughts. Life during these years was not easy, but it was intentional. These meals were born from necessity, shaped by patience, and sustained by quiet strength. They remind us that survival does not always come from abundance, but from care, discipline, and the ability to make the most of what we have. If these stories brought you back to your grandparents' kitchen, like this video and subscribe to American Restored, where we continue to honor the wisdom, resilience, and forgotten lessons of the past.